This is Messages from the Universe with Laurie Wondra of Your Life Core. Here, Laurie delivers information from the Mastery Realms related to astrology, planetary influences, energy surges, and generally how we are evolving. She connects with angels, guides, ascended masters, astro beings, and those that come forward with messages to help us on our journey. Welcome, everyone, to Messages from the Universe podcast.
Hello, this is Laurie Wondra of Your Life Core. Thank you for listening. Today, I want to talk about taking a break. And behind that, oftentimes in the Western world and the lifestyle that we live, we simply don't take breaks. We don't take lunch breaks. We don't take relaxation breaks. We barely find the time to run to the bathroom during the day. We wait until the last minute. You might laugh or giggle when I say that, but it's the truth. We just don't take conscious breaks. And so the angels and guides are wanting me to speak about that today and how important that is that we create those pause moments in our lives, especially when we talk about energy and the frequency coming in. And today, as I was working, it's a beautiful fall day. I'm looking out my window and I'm seeing the sunshine, but I'm seeing these infusion of rays of light coming down in kind of a blue, green, and pink energy. And then every once in a while there's some purple showers of light coming in. And when I focus, I can see that light. And I know that not everybody can see this light coming in, but they feel it in a different way. And what I've noticed today is that I've looked at the window, I see it, and then a little bit later it's gone, and then it comes back, and then now it's gone completely. So this was just earlier today. But it's a reminder that energy's not continuous. It comes and it goes. It comes in great and it comes in small units, and it comes in different ways. And for us to be in these energetic transmissions, we do need to take some pause moments. So as I was sitting back and I was reflecting where I was busy working and creating materials for a class that I'm doing. And so I was nose to the keyboard and to my screen. And then suddenly I would feel something that made me look outside. And in the past, I could say it was the energy of, there was some sort of animal or little critter out there that I could sense that energy. But also today it was, I could sense these rays of light coming in. And so if you find that you aren't seeing the rays in light and you're not sensing the animal energy, but you're feeling something or you're feeling a disruption in your day, it might be a time where you simply lose focus or you're in a stream of focus and suddenly you just lose it. And sometimes we say, gosh, I forgot what I was going to say, or I forgot what I was going to the kitchen for, those types of things. Those are examples of how we might be interrupted by energy that's outside of our normal viewing process or our normal knowing. And to be aware of that, because this time of year, we're going to get these blasts of light. And that information comes to us in the form of a stream of energy. And we're not always going to be able to see it or feel it or taste it or hear it or anything. It might just show up and it's there and it creates this disruption. So in those times of disruption, be kind to yourself. Don't go into this place of judgment as to, oh my gosh, I can't focus today. Why am I so unfocused? I mean, those are judging statements, and you can have those thoughts about yourself, but then quickly follow them with the knowledge that this is just temporary. And if you're having a moment of relapse or a moment of unfocused attention, then it's just simply your soul and your physical being, your emotional being, your mental being, your spiritual being needing a bit of a break. When we take these pauses, we need to experience the pauses in all our energy bodies. You've heard me talk about our physical body. That's when I look at you, that's who I see in your physical form. And then the etheric field around you and the emotional layer and the mental layer and the spiritual layer and the astral layer that comes in. And when we need to take a pause, we need to take a pause in all of those layers. And we think very one-dimensional. We think about our physical body. So when we think about taking a pause, we often think about, oh, I need to take a nap, or I just need to go for a walk, or I need to take a break from something. I want to draw focus to, if you were to take a break in the other energy bodies, like the etheric energy body, the emotional energy body, the mental, the spiritual, the astral planes, what would that look like or feel like for you? When we can easily identify the physical planes, that's us. That's how we walk upon Mother Earth. If we look at the shifts that Mother Earth has, let's say Mother Earth experiences earthquakes or storms or floods or extreme heat temperatures. Those are like the big ones. Those are like the extreme. That's when the energy is pummeling Mother Earth. And then there's break times. There's times where everything is just cool. There's no storms. There's no extensive heat. There are times where the cycle goes back to normal or it's calm. In our physical being, we also experience those heightened times where we have this tremendous surge of energy and we get shaken to our core, like a big earthquake has hit us, or a big storm or tornado has hit us. And we know too that there's going to be some cleanup that has to be done. There has to be some assessment about what just happened and how do we maybe prevent or learn from it so it doesn't happen again, those types of things. If we apply the principles of what Mother Nature shows us and apply that to ourselves, we can learn a lot. That second layer in us, the emotional, similar concept is like, how about if you take a break from the emotional being? Take a break from experiencing this shifting and changing and the fluctuations in our emotions. Sometimes we need to take a nap because it moves us away from experiencing that emotional body. But sometimes doing activities that we really love, or doing activities that just don't spawn any sort of emotion. We can be blank. And when I say that, I want you to think for a minute, is it possible for you to be and not have an emotional response to it? That you can just be blank. Not good, not bad, not anything. Just blank. It's an awesome feeling when you can get to that. And what I found is over time, it's easier to get to that blank place, and it allows the receptors to be more open to what's around you or what's happening within you. Because if you're coming from a starting point of feeling a certain emotion, then it just takes off from there. And sometimes it's a clouded emotion, where if you start from a clean slate or non-emotion, then you can easily pinpoint what's going on. In that emotional body, that's where your emotion. You need to take a break. So find those activities that allow you to create a practice or allow you to create that space that you're not in any emotion, bad or good. You're just in a blank state because it's good for you. When we speak about the mental area, both the emotional area and the mental areas are really going through some transition now. But in the mental area, that's really where you can start to transform your energy, and you can influence that through your intentions, through your speech, through your actions. That mental layer is really where you host your filters. It's where your patterns and your behaviors are established. As you're experiencing the emotions, as you're observing yourself, you're bouncing between the emotional layer and the mental layer in order to express and to observe your filters and then to adjust them. And that takes a lot of work. So think about these energy vibrations that are coming in, and they're creating this force for us to work and bounce between the mental and the emotional bodies and do a lot of change. It's tiresome. It's work. And so we need to take breaks on that. In this level of transformation, somehow along the line, we've conditioned ourselves, or we have this belief that we don't transition unless we feel extensive pain. And that's not true. We can transform and transition and feel really good about it, meaning we can have really, really good, happy experiences, or really even balanced, even not highly emotionally charged experiences, and go through transformation. But somehow we believe that we have to suffer. That's a pattern. That's an imprint that you have given yourself or somebody else has given to you. In this, I'd like to say that's the first one that I'd like you to work on, to release, is that not all soul work or spiritual work is painful, or it hurts, or is catastrophic, or it's emotional turmoil. It can be really forwarding. It can be really good. It can be different than maybe that filter that you have going on in that mental area. That next layer that we're working through is that spiritual layer. And I think that's the one layer, or the energy body, that people are going to be challenged with in the next few years. Because if we've worked through the emotion and we're open to really experiencing new filtering systems, we're going to continue to have new information coming to us. And that's what I see in these light waves that I've seen today, is like, this is new stuff coming into us. And we have to be ready for it. And we get to be excited about it, and it's there for us when we are ready. But it's also going to challenge us in our belief systems, in what we've perhaps believed in the past in the spiritual realm, of how we connect with each other, how we connect with the different realms, how we connect with the different planes of being. There's more awareness that we're not so linear, that we're not so one-dimensional, that there aren't rules that apply to every single situation or every single person. There are boundaries and there are universal laws that we work within, but how we experience those are different based on our individual growth or individual journey. So that's exciting for us. In this mental area, we'll start to bounce between the mental area and the spiritual area again. So I feel like that's going to come in is as we start to open up our filters, kind of test the waters a little bit, get more comfortable about being in these neutral areas so that we can experience pristine things. We'll start to bounce between the mental state and the spiritual, and that's where we begin to question our perception, the concepts that we have around things, the things that we believed in the past. I think that one of my jobs that they're getting me ready for is to break down the old paradigms, just some of the old teachings, even in spirituality and the new age stuff, is to break down those paradigms and stop some of those teachings, or just give another viewpoint in that area, because even some of those teachings have created certain limitations amongst people. But for yourself, as you take these pause moments, sometimes what might happen is if we can't figure out a solution, we shut down, or we just forget about it. And what I would suggest in this is, instead of shutting down or forgetting about it, give yourself a pause moment and allow yourself to come back to it at a later point. And that would be both from emotional standpoint, a spiritual standpoint, and a mental standpoint. Think about from the physical body. If you are physically exhausted, you might say, I'm physically exhausted. I just need to sleep, or I need to rest, and I'll come back to it in an hour or two, or I'll come back and do the rest of it tomorrow. We allow ourselves to do that from a physical standpoint. Do the same thing from an emotional. And this goes to that if you're having a breakthrough, or you're having some really good conflict with an important relationship in your life, and it's digging up some emotional things, allow yourself and the person that you're having this interaction with to have an emotional break. Not a breakdown, just an emotional break that you can step away and you can come back to it at a later point. Sometimes we don't do that. We feel like we have to get everything resolved right now. We have to have an answer right now. And we're better at giving ourselves a physical break than we are giving ourselves an emotional or spiritual or mental break. And I just feel like this is really, really important, because as the pulses of energy that are coming into us, there's not an expectation from the universe that we're going to get all the energy in one sitting and figure it out, become acclimated to it, begin to use it, teach it, speak about it, live it, those types of things. The universe gives us time, and that's why the frequency spurts or the energy flows are going to impact different people at different times, and the results are going to be very different. We're not all the same. We're all very, very different. As this energy is coming upon us in many different ways, please understand or remember that the surges of energy are all to push us forward. So we're never going to get more than we're ready for. If you feel like there's some things that are passing you by, don't feel that way. You're going to get exactly what you need, and nothing's going to pass you by. It's going to come to you when you need it. Some of the things that help us go into these pause moments, or acclimating the information, or being more centered and being more aware of the interaction between our physical body the etheric body, the emotional body, the spiritual body, and the mental body to do things such as more ceremonies. People often think of ceremonies like a marriage ceremony or baptism, or we send our loved ones off into their next lifetime. We think about ceremonies in that context. But what I'm talking about is to develop an honoring system for yourself. For me personally, I do a ceremony on every full moon or new moon, and they change as to what I do. It depends on the weather and it depends on where I am. I like to do fire on full moon and new moon, but that's not always possible. Sometimes if I'm traveling or if the weather just doesn't allow, there might be other situations I'm not available or I'm out in public, I can't light a fire, but I'll do some sort of ceremony, and it could be fire or it could be as simple as, before I go to sleep at night, just honoring myself and honoring the angels and guides that are around me, but it's with intent. And there's other times that I also really make sure that I engage in some sort of intentful ceremony. And that would be on my birthday. Very, very powerful, even more so than on New Year's, the fall equinox, the spring equinox, the summer solstice, the winter solstice, all key dates. The reason that those might be a little bit more powerful than, let's say, your birthday is that there are millions of people around the world that are also doing ceremony on those dates. And so you just get a little bit boost in the energy field. When you think about the ceremony of a birthday cake and candles, it really is to remind you of the fire that is within you. And when we add a candle to the cake or to the celebration each year, it's to honor that we've grown, that our fire has grown and it's never become diminished or extinguished. I know we blow out the candles, but that's just to signify the power that we have to ignite our fire whenever we choose to do that. Another really good practice along with ceremonies is just developing that practice of talking to your angels and guides. And that would include any animal spirit guides that are around, your power animal that might be with you. Understanding and pausing and taking the time for all the helpers that are around and helping you through this transition. The reason that I'm bringing this up is I'm noticing as I've been talking about the rays of lights, I'm not seeing the rays of lights anymore, but I am sensing that my front yard is actually filled with a lot of energetic beings as they're just kind of waiting to assist or waiting to help in whatever is needed. And as I'm pondering that, I'm just thinking, how many times are our angels, our guides, the astral beings, the animal spirits, they're kind of waiting. They're ready for that moment for us to invite them in to assist us. And so oftentimes they won't just come charging in, and we need to invite them in. And that's the message that I'm getting when I'm sensing that their energy is present. They like the message behind creating this pause. And with technology as it is today, people are walking with their phones in their hands, and they're always connected to something, whether it's texting, social media, or phone calls. They're always connected. But most recently, I've actually seen people walking around with two phones. If you find yourself in that situation, usually it's because you've got a work phone and there's an expectation that you're tied to that. You need to be watching that. And then there's the personal phone that you have. We are becoming overwhelmed with technology, and that's not going to change. It's just going to continue to be there because it's a necessity in so many ways. So creating that pause area for your physical being is to maybe step away from technology. It also allows that emotional field and the spiritual field and the mental field to take a break in those areas also. Take a rest, get back to a plane of nothingness or openness so that when you come back to it at a later point, you have a fresh start. As I was just preparing to wrap up this podcast, I noticed that Miko, my kitty, is sleeping at my feet. And he's snoring. He's taking a pause. And no doubt his snoring is going to be on this recording, and I'm not going to go back and record it. So I could apologize, but I could also say this is an opportunity that our animals and nature, those things around us, give us insight. They give us opportunity to observe, to watch, to follow sometimes. So where might you need to look in your life to get those examples, to follow and give yourself authorization or give yourself kind of an opportunity to just relax? And it is important to relax the physical body. It's critical that you relax the emotional body and that you just come to a place of neutrality. It's critical that you also come to a place of allowing your mind to calm down. Many times clients are talking to me about they get into analysis paralysis. They just can't stop thinking about a situation. That's a clear indication the universe is telling you you need a pause in your mental processes. You need a pause in just thinking. And in that space of pause, both for the emotional and the mental, that's where the universe can drop in all these new light codes that are coming into the planet right now. I'm Laurie Wondra. Thank you so much for listening. Have a great week, and I'll talk to you next week.
Thank you for listening to Messages from the Universe podcast with Laurie Wondra of Your Life Core. For current events or to schedule a private session with Laurie, please visit yourlifecore.com.